audio on, and we're on.
Good morning and welcome to our 5th GLOW meeting. Today what we're going to be having a chat with is with Tom Sreeves. He's the Director of Manufacturing at Aggreko. But before we go to that, I would like just to remind you of what we're here for. Today we've got, as I said, we've got our 4th meeting. We're actually here on behalf of the Scottish Leaders Awards programme, which you can download off the internet, and also with primary engineering if you would like to go through that. What we've got today is we've got Tom Sreeves from the Director of Manufacturing from Aggreko. I'd like to say thank you very much for coming along to help us. We were talking earlier, he was telling me fantastic information about what he's been doing within the company. So rather than me taking any more exciting information away from him, can I pass you over and can you give us a bit of information about what you do as your occupation, and where your company's been going and how it's been working within engineering, please?
Absolutely fine.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Tom, and I'm the Director of Manufacturing for Aggreko, and I work out in Dumbarton. Now today, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about Aggreko. I'm sure a lot of you have got families, maybe parents, friends that work for Aggreko. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do and what I do in my job in particular. Now, today Aggreko is one of the 100 biggest companies in Great Britain, but it wasn't always that way. It started back in 1973 in the UK, in Dumbarton, and has grown to the scale where I'll show you on a slide that we've got installations all over the world. We work in just about every country in the world. Now, many of you may know that we do a lot of work for high-profile events, but I'm going to show you a little video now that explains what Aggreko does, what our business is, and how we make money.
That's important.
It is.
That's what we need to know, please. So, I take it, do you go all over the world with this all the time?
Yes.
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 So you've got a nice passport.
Yes. Now, will they? This is good. Presumably we're muted.
Yes.
Okay.
We do this in 2 ways. In our local business, we hire our equipment to customers who operate it for themselves, whilst we take care of servicing and maintenance. In our international power projects business, we operate as a power producer. That means we install and operate power plants and are paid revenue for both delivering electricity and for building and operating the power plant on behalf of our customer. We implement both of these models on a global basis. In fact, we served customers in about 100 countries from 165 service centres and offices. And with over 6,000 employees and over 13,000 generators, we supply the equivalent energy that will power 1/10 of the entire UK needs. Being spread across the globe means we are close to our customers. We can be there quickly in an emergency, able to better respond to their needs. All backed up with plenty of local knowledge and strong customer relationships. The solutions we provide to those customers cover the entire market. From extremely large and complex to the very simple. Large and complex jobs might include keeping the lights on in entire countries when their existing grid just cannot cope with demand. Or helping oil refineries maintain production in hot weather, with vital additional cooling and power. And for global sporting events like the Olympics and the Football World Cup, we designed and provided the critical power infrastructure for the broadcasting, security, and field of play lighting. Simpler solutions, on the other hand, might include providing temperature control in an office after the air conditioning has failed, or installing chillers to provide cooling for temporary ice rinks, or hiring a generator to a utility company for a few days while it works to improve transmission lines. Whether simple or complex, our customers depend upon us to keep their business running and are therefore focused on quality, reliability and service. We know that what we do is the difference between success or failure for our customers. Our equipment and services are also transferable between different business segments, so we aren't at the mercy of any one single market. The generator on a film set one day might be working on a building site the next. As a global operator, we can respond to events like natural or other disasters as they happen, and move equipment to where it is most needed. That equipment is all designed, built and maintained by ourselves to the highest standards. That guarantees the quality and reliability our customers demand, as well as the durability that keeps the equipment making money for us for as long as possible. With outstanding people, strong customer relationships, and a powerful brand, Aggreko has grown over the last half a century to become the world leader in the market with an enviable reputation. We are successful because we deliver outstanding value and service to our customers, and therefore highly attractive returns to shareholders. So, that is what Aggreko does. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, just bear with me a minute. It's going to make me pause.
Well, I have to say, Tom, that was very, very interesting there. I really thought that was good. What we'll say, before we go on to give you, for you to go on your presentation, can I actually comment something with that in that presentation you just showed us
Yes.
there? The person that was doing all the graphic design, and that's another form of technology of communicating.
Indeed.
People haven't actually commented a lot on that, and I have to say I really like that as a technical teacher who teaches graphics. That's fantastic. However, that's not what we're here for, so sorry. Can we continue with your presentation? Sorry, thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope you enjoyed that. I think it does present what Aggreko does very effectively. If you'd like to see it again, it is actually available on YouTube. If you Google Aggreko, what we do, you should be able to find it. So there's a tip. Now, you've seen the cartoon version, but I'm going to show you some real photographs and tell you about some of the things that we actually do. There's two main areas of applications that we do. First of all, industrial applications for other companies or for grids. Electricity companies in developing world, and you'll see on the slide that we've got up in the top left picture, that's a mini power station. That's 100 megawatt. That's sufficient to power a small town. Bottom right, we've got a much smaller one that happens to be in Govan, believe it or not, which was responding to a breakdown situation with an electricity substation. I'll show you the next slide that shows some of the events, and this really is the exciting part of our job. We did a lot of work for the London Olympics, and most recently for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, which was an absolutely fantastic experience for us. It was our home game, so we sort of had to get the contract, didn't we? But it was a great honour, and it was fantastically successful. Typically, these major sporting events are an ideal application for Aggreko because they're done in places where there isn't any permanent power, and so we have to bowl up with a lot of temporary generators to power temporary stadiums, and that was particularly the case in London. We'll also do festivals. We've done the Ryder Cup as well just recently in Glen Eagles.
Interesting, we've got a question up there from Ms. Phillips Smith. A comment that the video was great, but do you work with renewables ever?
Yes, we do. We do work with renewables. We don't actually offer renewables ourselves, but it's quite a new, big, important market for us because particularly with, say, wave power or wind power, they're not totally reliable. You can't, even where I live in the west of Scotland, you can't rely on the wind blowing permanently all the time.
No, surely, no, I'm sorry, no.
So typically, often we need other forms of power, like diesel generators, to fill in the gaps.
Yes, definitely.
So that when you're watching the Commonwealth Games on the TV, the lights don't go out when the wind stops blowing. So yes, we do work with it, and it's becoming increasingly important around the world.
Thank you for that question.
Yes, indeed, a very an excellent question. So on the next slide, I mentioned in my introduction that the company was founded in Dumbarton in 1973, probably around about the time a lot of your parents were born, maybe even before.
Just before me.
And I don't know if you'd noticed, but if you look at the bottom two sites, I recently was fortunate enough to be involved in building and opening a brand new facility in Dumbarton. If any of you have ever driven up the road to Loch Lomond on the A82, as you're just coming out of Dumbarton, look right, and there's a big building that says Aggreko there, which is great. That was opened in 2012. And I think one of the highlights of my career, we had Princess Royal came to open it, and I had the honour of showing her around the factory. So in terms of what we do, take a look at some of the pictures on the next slide. Basically, we do two things. We design equipment, big engine-driven generators, and also some refrigeration equipment like giant fridges to power temporary ice rinks, for example. What we also assemble and test them in our factory. So it's a lot of design work, test work, prototyping work, assembly work, and so on. On the next slide, there's a couple of pictures of the sort of things that we make. The one on the left where it says 200 kVA canopy, that could probably power about 100 houses, so a couple of streets. The one on the right is one of our biggest gas generators, and that can power a small town. The next slide shows some of our refrigeration equipment. These are refrigeration chillers. If you've ever been to one of the temporary ice rinks, either underneath Edinburgh Castle or on George Square in Glasgow, take a look out and you may see.
I was going to ask you, were you the person that does the George Square
Yes.
one? Yes. So.
Yes.
Well, I have to say it works because I was on it last year.
It's
yes.
it's super.
It is, I have to
super.
say. Get your mum and dad to take you there. It's brilliant.
Yes. I think one of the important things about Aggreko is that we operate anywhere in the world, and so on the next slide what I wanted to illustrate is that when we design our equipment, we need to design it to operate in very, very cold climates. And you can see on the top right picture, that's actually in Russia, and it's at I think, I'm trying to remember the temperature there, -30 it says. I've got to put my glasses on to see that. And the bottom right is a mine site in Australia, and there we're looking at +45 degrees C, so unimaginably hot, but it's the same equipment that has to do both.
So you won't be wearing the same clothing though.
Yeah, and that's a real challenge for our design teams. And the two pictures on the left, the one at the top, that's actually a generator being loaded into a Antonov aircraft at Prestwick Airport to be transported to a job in Africa, and the one on the bottom shows some of our equipment being transported on a barge. And really, our equipment is mobile. We have to be able to move it around by truck or by helicopter or by boat or by plane quickly and easily, and it's a fundamental part of what we do. The little picture in the middle at the bottom is actually an installation in Iraq with a large sandstorm approaching, and somebody actually had the presence of mind to take that photo before disappearing into their bolt hole.
A related question we put up there
Okay.
by Miss Philip Smith. How long do the generators in the extreme conditions last for?
Oh, now that's an interesting question. How long do they last? When we build the equipment, typically we build it to last a long time. We own and operate it, and we'll own the equipment for typically 8 or 10 years. But during that time, as you can imagine, it's a little bit like a car. A car has to go in for its service every year or so, and for our generators, typically they'll need a service every month roughly, and we'll change the oil and we'll check the controls. So there's quite a significant service regime, but overall they will easily last 8 to 10 years, even in the extreme environmental conditions you're seeing there.
Reflecting on the extreme environments, a question there from Miriam MacDonald. Do you have any accidents?
Oh, now that again is an extremely good question. So thank you, Miriam. Health and safety is something all companies take very, very seriously. And in my career, and I've been working longer than I care to remember, it's taken far more seriously today than it was, say, 20 or 30 years ago, and more seriously each year. We've introduced a number of company-wide schemes. Our corporate colour is orange, and we recently introduced a scheme called the Orange Rules, just to remind people that, you know, we're only 1 or 2 false steps away from a disaster. We do have accidents, but thankfully very, very few. But health and safety is particularly important because we're dealing with high voltages, we're dealing with high pressures that can potentially, you know.
I'm sure you deal with the same type of things that we teach in schools. Think twice, act once.
Yes.
It's a very nice policy to think of, and that
Yes.
reduces a tremendous amount of problems.
Yes.
So, you know, something to keep out in school as well, even when you're studying. Think twice, act once. It makes life so much easier. Another good question, thank you.
Yes, great, really good question. And it's particularly relevant to our world, where a lot of our business model is about responding and doing things quickly. So there is always a temptation to cut corners, but you know, when you're having to do something quickly and it needs to be right, as you say, it's far more important to think twice and act once.
Yes, definitely.
Being impressed by your range of products there, Martin. G. Simpson is asking perhaps a trade secret question, or maybe preempting your the next slide. What is your next product?
I couldn't possibly tell you the answer to that. I think, I mean, as a general rule, what I would say is in the power world, there's a couple of international drivers that are becoming more and more important. One is emissions, you know, the say the fumes that come out of the exhaust pipe of a generator, and the other is greenhouse gases and increasing efficiency. And a lot of the work that we're currently doing on new products is to produce the products that deliver the same output, but they do it far more efficiently.
I take it you're going down the same type of lines that the buses and the coaches have got?
Yes.
Where the buses actually have no emissions effectively now, which is very impressive.
Effectively, Martin, that's a very relevant point, because the engines that we use in some of our smaller generators are bus engines.
Well,
literally, they're derivations of the same base engine. They'll be made by people like Cummins or Scania or Aggreko that make bus engines.
So you must have to get all your physics engineers and design engineers all to work as one team then, is when they're coming up with this, is that correct?
Yes, indeed. And often also working with engineering teams from our suppliers. We've got a number of key strategic suppliers that we work with.
Very interesting.
Martin, perhaps a question that takes you on to the next slide anyway is about the reliability and the quality of your generators. So.
Again, the reliability of the generators in particular is very, very important, because typically when one of our customers calls for Aggreko to help, our customer already has a problem. So when we turn up, we need to be absolutely reliable in terms of the solution that we provide. Quality also, we like our equipment to look good when it turns up on site. It's part of the image that we portray to that. We sometimes call ourselves the fourth emergency service. So quality and reliability are very, very important, particularly to our business model.
Well, I would definitely say it has been, because I was actually at the Commonwealth Games as a spectator, and it was, you know, for the facilities that I saw that obviously you were involved in, you were very pleased to have won the contract.
Yes.
It was very successful. We've got a question from G. Simpson, and it was asking, how did you feel when your company was asked to contribute to the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow? Because obviously it's your back door effectively, isn't it, in your back door?
Yes. It was absolutely fantastic moment. I mean, clearly we had to bid for the contract, and we had some very good and capable competition, and I have to say there was quite a lot of pressure on us that if we didn't get it, that questions would have been asked by our managers. But no, it was absolutely fantastic, and the opportunity to be involved was just superb. We had a launch event down at our Lomond Gate facility that you may have seen on the news. We had a specially commissioned painted container, and one of the most exciting things for me was, because it was in our backyard, there was an opportunity for us in Dumbarton to send a lot of our apprentices and a lot of our younger workers out to actually support the venues. So not just to go and see the equipment working or go and see the games, but actually work on the venues. And they don't normally get that sort of opportunity when the contracts are in a different country.
Thank you for that, Tom. We'll let you continue with your...
Okay. A couple of the things I was going to mention, in a company like ours where we basically design and we build things, there's a lot of different careers. We've also got finance departments, we've got planning departments, we've got buying departments that are quite often travelling the world, visiting our supply base that can be in places as far afield as Eastern Europe, North America, China, and so on. And all of these careers need a good background in maths and physics so that you can understand how things work. If you don't have that, it really is quite difficult. But it's not just about it. There's a lot of other careers, you know, that people can follow in a engineering and manufacturing environment such as ours.
Can I ask a wee question? Sorry, well, at this present moment in time, I've got lots and lots of questions, and I'm trying to get onto some. One of the questions was, how many generators did you have in the Commonwealth, the Olympic Games and in the Commonwealth Games?
It's hundreds. On the Olympic Games in London, it was just shy of 1,000, and it was hundreds in the Commonwealth Games.
That's a staggering figure.
Yeah.
So you had a small country, effectively.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So on the slide we've got up now, one of the things that makes our world different in terms of designing the equipment, a lot of companies design, build equipment, and then they sell it to somebody else. We don't do that. We Aggreko continue to own it, and so that we have to really take care of the equipment all through its working life. Even maybe, you know, 5 years after it's been built and shipped, we need to make sure it works. So we take a lot of interest in reliability reporting back from the you know, from the Commonwealth Games or the Olympics, and try to build that in to the design of the next piece of equipment. I think on the next slide, I've got a cutaway of one of our containerized gensets, and because it's housed in a shipping container, and you can see what I was mentioning there, that there's various components sourced from all over, the fabricated containers procured in China, the engine from the UK or the USA, the electrical generators on that piece of equipment sourced in China. We'll skip on 2 slides, I think, now. Yes, one of the things that we have to do, and this really is quite impressive, is when we ship the equipment to a customer site, it has to work first time, and it has to work reliably. So they get very thoroughly tested before they leave our factory. And one of the big new installations that we had to imagine when we constructed the new factory was an indoor test bay. Before that, our testers, you won't believe this, Martin, but our testers actually had to work outside in a yard before they but now they have the luxury of working indoors in a covered test bay.
See, engineering is good.
Yeah. I just wanted to say a little bit, if we can go on to the next slide, about other things that are becoming increasingly important. We mentioned health and safety, very important today. If you go back 20 or 30 years, it was important, but it nowhere near the profile. Another thing is continual improvement, and this is broadly applying some of the Japanese techniques to just constantly improving everything we do in every aspect of the work with structured processes. Again, I mentioned our corporate colour is orange, and we have an Orange Excellence initiative whereby we train a lot of our people in structured problem solving techniques to actually improve the way we operate, and that's fantastic, because it's good for the workforce. People learn new skills, but it's also good for the company. We also do a lot of work with local colleges and schools. It's never too early to start. Start in primary school. I'd strongly support the Scottish Leaders Award, because this can give you the opportunity to talk to real engineers. You can talk to them about what they do, you can talk to them about what you would like to do, and they can maybe help you on your way. But we currently work with local schools and colleges at all levels. We take on year in industry students immediately before going to university, and we've got a good record of them moving through and taking on permanent jobs with us, and then often travelling the world to different parts of Aggreko.
Can I say for last year as well, thank you for helping us with the Scottish Leaders Award. It has
Yes.
been really good, because what the purpose is, and I think you found this out last year,
Yes.
we do maths, we do English, we do all these subjects at school, but this is really tying it all together and getting to understand the true value of it. And as you've said already, we need to
Yes.
have all these experiences at school so that we can actually get a job that's going to be amazing, like what you've been doing.
Yes.
So no, thank you for that support once again.
No,
Yes.
that's a pleasure. That's a pleasure. Now, I was just going to, couple more slides, talk about our apprenticeship program.
I'm glad you are, because we've got questions coming up on that. Like, so we might, if you've asked questions about the apprenticeship, sorry, we might not have to ask them, because this is what's coming on now. So thank you.
Yes, we've got a very strong apprenticeship program, and it's really a modern apprenticeship. It's a technician apprenticeship program. We've been doing it originally since the 1980s, but we've really kicked it off again seriously in the last few years. We've currently got best part of 30 apprentices under training, and that's about 15% of the total workforce. So that I think that's great. They stay with us. I'm actually tomorrow morning presenting some long service awards, and I've got this whole long list of ex-apprentices receiving their 5-year awards, and I've got 1 or 2 receiving 20 years awards as well, believe it or not. But the apprenticeship is a very good route into an engineering career. I think generally, whether you want to go on to university and study an engineering degree or an apprenticeship, they're both good routes. They can suit different people, and we know that some of our apprentices sometimes are asking themselves whether, you know, which is the correct way. But I would suggest talk to people that are doing it, and decide what's right for you. But again, to get into an apprenticeship, study of maths and physics and is desperately important. We, in common with a lot of companies, are looking for people with a high level of capability in the science subjects.
That's very good. Thanks. What about practical subjects? Would you say that's so that they get hands-on experience? Is that quite helpful, would you say?
Probably it is, and if the more hands-on work turns you on, let's say, quite possibly the apprenticeship route is the right route for you, rather than a degree. Although even with a degree, you need, if you're going to be an engineer, you need that hands-on feel. You need to be able to visualize how things work. But I would say it's for our apprenticeship, I would expect a lot of our apprentices to go on to become service engineers or commissioning engineers, or even draftsmen, or go on and take an engineering degree after they've done the apprenticeship. There's quite a few schemes at the moment, and we will support this as well. We've put ex-apprentices then through a maybe part-time or even full-time master's degree in engineering.
That's very interesting, because that's something we need to remember when we're at schools. We don't just go to school, learn and get a job. We then go to school, get a job, continually learn to further develop our careers. School's only the starting point of this. We've got a few more questions to come in.
All right.
Sorry, Vinny asks, are you an engineer in the Hall of Fame?
Oh no, I'm not. Vote for me.
Right.
No, I'm not.
I think that's a wee clue. Could you maybe vote for somebody? Very nice person here, please. Right.
I did have the honour last year of presenting one of the awards at the IESIS dinner.
This gentleman's corporate colours are orange, but can I assure you, in case you can't see it in the camera, his face is going red. It's past the on stage at the moment.
Yes.
So please, let's think of one for. That's something we'll talk about at another time. The Hall of Fame, please.
Yes.
Sorry, we're taken away from what you were saying. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Were there any of the others of those questions?
Charlie was asking, what is your best invention?
Oh.
Or company invention?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. I'm not sure I could tell you that. That's probably why I'm not in the Hall of Fame, isn't it?
Or maybe this is a gentleman that doesn't want to be.
Watch the space.
Yes.
Watch the space. I think there's a lot there, but we're just not telling
Well,
just now.
well, no. What I would say is particularly. I've worked for Aggreko for 20 years now, and rather than inventing things myself, which I used to do earlier in my career, the thing that gives me most satisfaction is actually recruiting people, seeing them grow, seeing them develop in their careers, and then taking pride when they invent better mousetraps that we can rent out to our customer base. So that's the thing I take most satisfaction from these days, is seeing some of our apprentices move through, seeing some of our engineers move through and really make a success, and not only of their professional career, but growing up, getting married, starting a family. There's a tremendous satisfaction in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you've answered a question that was asked earlier.
Okay.
In that response there, yeah.
We've got Liam asking a question. I think your job's in the line at the moment, because he's asking how many more years will you be continuing your important role here? So I think somebody's eyeing your job here at the moment.
As many as I can. As many as I can.
Can I ask? I mean, on a question we've had earlier, it's on this line. What was your ambition when you were at school? What did you think you would possibly? What was your outlook? Because we've had a series of questions along those lines, so sorry if you've asked that question and I haven't named you.
Yeah.
I wanted to play centre forward for Arsenal.
This was the backup.
Yes, but that there was no chance of that ever happening.
Maybe
So
they could do with recruiting a few engineers to
Yes.
engineer goals.
Yes, that's right. No, really, at that time, I wanted to be an engineer. I didn't have a specific ambition at the time. I left school. I wanted to get into engineering, and as Martin said earlier, it's not just about you study your subjects and then you go and do a job. One of the piece of advice I would maybe give young people starting out, it is about learning, but then it's about experience, and then it's maybe about other aspects of training. On a lot of our jobs, a lot of our contracts, the ability to use your initiative is desperately important. The capability of team working is desperately important, and you need to develop those skills as well. So it's a bit of experience, it's a bit of study, it's a bit of general team building, this sort of thing, and gradually you develop yourself and your capability of really delivering, through your career.
Can I ask a question, right? What has actually made you stand back and go, wow, in the last few years? That's a question we've had that's come up, and it's quite an important question, because you're seeing all these amazing, fascinating things on a daily basis. What's made you go, wow?
I think the thing that really brought it home for me was probably the 2012 London Olympics. when you saw the opening ceremony, it was just so fantastic, and we knew that was being powered by Aggreko generators. And I'll share a little secret. Whenever we have one of these big events, there's a lot of people, and I'm one sitting at home watching the TV, worrying, what if it goes wrong? What if the lights go out? You know, I think that would probably bring a premature end to my important job. But,
so Liam, don't get ideas.
but no, the London Olympics, and just the scale of some of the events, the stadiums that were completely temporary. They were just built out of scaffolding.
Right.
You know, there was a hockey stadium in the Olympic Park. There was an equestrian stadium in Greenwich Park. There was just nothing there. It was a temporary stadium with temporary power and temporary stalls, shops, temporary scoreboards, the whole thing. And after the event, it was all taken down again.
The description's making me say wow.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
I've got another question from you, right, from Owen and Sammy. And I think this is a very good important
Yes.
question. It's not just for engineering, it's for life skills, right?
Yes.
Do you make any mistakes in your career, and what was your worst invention? Right? Or what, so can I maybe phrase that in another way, right? We all make mistakes,
Yes.
right? And that's one of the things we've got to learn from. You learn from your mistakes, which is really important, right?
Yes.
Could you maybe give us an idea of something where you've made a wee hiccup rather than
Yes.
mistake? It's a nicer word, the hiccup, right? And how you've developed that to be something positive.
Indeed. Again, I would agree with you, Martin. That is a good question, because people say that you learn from your mistakes, and I would say genuinely you do. If you never make mistakes in a career like engineering, it would be fair to say you're not trying hard enough.
Yes.
Okay. But in terms of when you do make mistakes, really learning the lessons and understanding what went wrong and how you can change things to make it better, it really is an important part of developing your career and your life skills. You know, I think none of us would think very highly of somebody who made a mistake and then, for example, blamed it on somebody else. That's life skills nil. But make a mistake and then learn. I'm going to tell you a little story from very early in my career, when I trained as an electrical and electronic engineer and had to work in a drawing office, and it wasn't quite true, because I actually did a lot of drawings, but I famously got one drawing wrong, and when we it was to draw a coil for heating up pipes, and I just got the calculation wrong, drew it wrong, and fortunately the guys and gals on the shop floor sorted it out for me and sort of corrected the design while they were building it. And for a long time after that, the talk in the company was Tom only ever did one drawing and he got it wrong. So the learning there was just about checking and maybe reviewing your design with maybe more senior colleagues. But as a general life skill, make mistakes, but learn the lessons in a structured way without assigning blame. Figure out what you can do better next time, and you'll become a better engineer. You'll become a better person and a more capable person.
I think that's a great thing to say, actually, because we do have to learn by our mistakes, and what you have to do is to sometimes sit back and identify that's where I've went wrong, and remember that, because that is,
Yes.
as you say, it's the same in every subject at school and everything you do in life. We've got another question from Reese. Do you have any tips for us as a class in engineering and product building? We are looking to work on some small projects in the near future.
Making mistakes.
You know, like, have you got any idea? Have you any wee small ideas where you maybe think of? I know that's a really hard question to think of, because we've got to now think of what you can actually do in the school, because Tom here has got like huge big fancy machines that schools don't have.
Yes.
Would maybe the idea of starting off with looking at investigating what engineers do, like what we do in the primary side of the Scottish Leaders Award.
Yes,
investigate
the schemes like the primary engineer scheme would be very, very good at that. There's lots of design or building exercises that you can do that are maybe like almost like sort of Connects or Lego or something like that, but it is possible to get, if it's done in an organised way. And one scheme that I'm familiar with, the primary engineer scheme, really is very good. You can get a lot more learnings about the process of engineering and what it's like to be a designer or a planner, etc. If you do that sort of thing. So I'd maybe recommend that you did a bit of investigation. I think you can Google primary engineer on the web.
Yeah, definitely, Reece. Ask your teacher to get involved, please. We'll gladly help you as much as we possibly can.
It's something that we as a company are very keen to support, and support our local primaries in West Dunbartonshire.
We're also directing maybe schools to have a look at STEM Central. There are a wide range of projects for schools to take on and try, a range of challenges on that side.
Reece, there you go. You have a couple of options. You have STEM Central, which is part of Education Scotland, and you have Primary Engineer through the Scottish Leaders Awards programme. So they've got quite a few ideas, and to be honest, see, once you get started, you won't actually realise you're doing maths, English, physics and all the subjects, because you'll realise what the importance of them are, and you'll be actually keen to do it. Trust me, try it and you'll believe me. You won't believe me until you try it, honest. Sorry, we'll let you. Have you
I think we were just about there for the slides. Have you got that final slide? Actually, just go back one slide if you could. Yes, I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we get our apprentices to do as they're learning their skills. I mentioned the importance of things like team building and initiatives. So not only do we put them around all the different departments, but we also will and give them the opportunity to travel or help on the Commonwealth Games, or you know, lots of them have been to the Middle East, to Africa, even to North America.
So you don't have to join the army to see the world?
No, you don't have to join the army to see the world. You can join Aggreko to see the world, but we'll also typically put them through some outward bound type team building activities, which is really fantastic. Nice. But it's all, you can tell from what I've been saying, it is all part of the final package that enables them to be good employees. I'd also make the comment that apprenticeships and careers in engineering, it's absolutely for boys and girls. You know, a surprising percentage of our apprentices are girls. It's probably today it's about 1 in 5, but we see that growing
very positive.
year on year, and equally for engineers, there's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't be a perfectly good career for boys and girls.
Tom, you've touched on a question which we're going to come. I'm going to not ask you this question, so I'm going to tell you what the question is, but I'm going to bring it in a few weeks' time, because we've got a female engineer coming in a few weeks' time. It was basically, how can you actually encourage, they were asking, how can you encourage their parents to let them pursue the career?
Yes.
I think the starting off point is that we don't have, that's a boys subject, that's a girls subject. What we have is, that's a subject that's brilliant for all, especially within engineering.
Yes.
So we're going to ask that question in a few weeks' time, but honestly, have a look at different career options, especially the girls just now. Think of this as an option. It's a very good career, and I didn't realise you could go and see the world being an engineer. I
Yes.
thought you saw Scotland. So, okay, maybe I should have started off in a career as that as well. Can I ask you, right, when I was at school, I've had a couple of questions coming in and I've scribbled
Yes.
some down in my notepad here,
Yeah.
right? One of the questions is, what was the most memorable thing that you did at school? And I won't forget, there was a day at the school fair, and it's about engineering, right? My old technical teacher, and if Mr. McLean you're listening, hello, right? However, he said to me that one day they'll have a wee thing about the size of your hand, if not smaller, that will hold 3,000 songs. Now, for everybody
Really?
out there, you're all saying that that's an iPad, right, or something like that. But when I was at school, we were like, no, we had the tape deck and it had 12 songs either side. Your teacher might be smiling to snout. However, they now have the iPad, and that was him talking to us and encouraging us to think of different engineering things. Do you have anything that you can think back where the teacher made you think of something, and then later on in life you go, oh, yeah, I remember that?
I have got a recollection, and it was actually more at university than at school. I'd share maybe I shouldn't share this story with you, but I remember at school, it was quite a traditional school, and they were very keen for people to go into the arts or the classics and so on. And when I said I'm doing engineering, they just, they looked down their nose at me. But that's changed hugely now. But what I wanted to share with you was when I was at university in Bristol, I studied power engineering and electrical machines, which was great. Now I find myself working for Aggreko, and we had this really world-renowned, eminent electrical machine specialist called Dr. Fong. Okay, and he was world-renowned, and he took us some of the classes. And at the end of a 3-year degree course where we've been doing some of the most incredibly difficult maths and physics and engineering skills, which you need,
Yes.
he said to us, don't worry, for most of the time you'll only need to know Ohm's law for most of what you do.
And you learn about that in physics.
Correct. And in one way he was right, that you need the understanding, you need the specialist techniques, but you don't take them out, you're not dealing with them all of the time. You take them out of the toolbox every now and again, but you need a really, really good understanding, a good grasp of the basics. And for him to have this world famous electrical machines engineer say, oh, don't worry guys, just learn Ohm's law.
but Tom, I think what you're highlighting is that when we're in, going back to what we were saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
You go to school, we learn the things in school, and we sometimes don't fully appreciate the values of what we're learning in the
Yes.
schools. Then when we go into our careers that we've chosen to go down, you go, I wish I listened a wee bit more in that.
Yes.
Because there's some things that you don't really think is going to be important, but there's a bit that it all joins up eventually
Yes.
and helps us. So I'm going to go to the last question actually, and
Okay.
it's really not really directed to engineering, right?
Okay.
But it highlights how enjoyable your career as an engineer has been.
Yes.
And there's one of the boys, and girls actually as well, Lisa it was, has asked, what famous people have you met because
Oh.
of this? Because obviously it's
Oh.
not just a job
Oh.
to do engineering. There's a fantastic social life, and now you've got a passport that I would think's got a lot of stamps in it. So what famous people have you met?
I've been very lucky in my career, and particularly with Aggreko supporting events like Glastonbury Festival and London Olympics and Commonwealth Games, and also because we're a major employer and major engineering company in Scotland. So this is where I get to name drop, is it?
Yes,
I
please
mentioned
name
that the Princess Anne came to open
Right,
our
yes.
factory. Her brother, Prince Andrew, came to our old factory as well. The Prime Minister, Mr. Cameron, visited our factory, and I got to meet him, and he made a point of introducing himself to all of our apprentices,
That's
which
very
was
good. So he realises
which
he
was
realises the
which was
value
fantastic.
of it.
Yes, but equally in the world of sport, I got to meet Catherine Granger, the Olympic gold medalist. She came and did a talk for us, which was great. Rona Martin, the curling gold medal from was Salt Lake City.
That's right, yes.
Probably, I've just thought, Martin, while we were talking, probably one of the most exciting. I got to meet Jim Lovell, the astronaut,
Wow.
from Apollo 13.
Right.
If you've seen the film Apollo 13,
Yeah.
he was, I think he was the guy that Tom Hanks played, but he actually was the captain of Apollo 13, and he came to do a motivational talk to Aggreko about 5 years ago in for one of our big conferences in Edinburgh, and he sort of came on. And he's quite an elderly man now, and said one or two things that tried to link space travel to Aggreko that wasn't really particular. And then he just went into the story, and was a room of about 200 people, totally spellbound
Wow.
by his story. And one of the interesting things was that the reason Apollo 13 had problems was down to engineering. There were failures in the equipment. There was a failure in the fuel cell, and it could have been solved by better engineering. But I got to say hello to him, and we all got a copy of his book, and I got him to sign my copy. So that was probably the highlight.
Can I say, Tom, thank you very much, right?
Yeah.
Because what you've did today is you've actually highlighted that not only is it a job, it's a fantastic, amazing career. You see the world,
Yes.
you meet amazing people, not just sports people, but I'm actually quite taken aback actually
Yes.
as well. Apollo 13 now, yes. Right. I would like to ask questions, but I'll not after if you don't mind, right? But honestly, thank you very much, and I hope this has
Yes.
motivated the pupils out within the schools to actually think of a career within engineering. And once again, I'm going to go back, and we've mentioned it once or twice about the Scottish Leaders Awards programme. This is your opportunity to start thinking now in primary school, first and second year, all about your careers. Go down this, think of careers, ask engineers, what do they do? Look at different opportunities. What we've got next week is, which is going to be on the 10th of October, we've got Douglas Anderson coming. Now, Douglas Anderson is an amazing man, much like the people you've described as well as yourself. He's come up with a retinal scanner. He had issues with his eyesight himself, and he has personally designed it. Now, the retinal scanner is not something that's like, it's the same as yours.
Yes.
It's all over the world, right, and nearly all the hospitals. So I would like to hope that we can see you next week, same time next week, to meet Douglas Anderson. But once again, Tom, thank you very much.
Thank
It
you.
was nice for you to come along today.
And thank you for all the great questions. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.